Hi folks, Josh Knight the First here with another episode of Writer Rebuild, coming to you with episode 3 of the series. Let's get right into it. So this week on the show, we're settling into what we're now trying to see as the first arc of the series, trying to understand what this mystery is surrounding Ryuga. There were a lot of things that I did like about this episode, but there were quite a few questionable things, but we'll get to those in short order. First, let's start with this newest revelation about the people that Build is working with. So as we were told at the end of last week's episode, Nabeshima, this guy who was apparently the one who knocked out Ryuga and set him up, is the key to unraveling the mystery that we're dealing with right now, exactly why it was that Ryuga was chosen to be kidnapped and experimented on by Faust. So the idea is we need to get more information on him. Now Misora says she has a way of getting that information. Turns out that she's actually a famous streamer by the name of Mitan. Now this is a revelation we weren't aware of up until this very episode. There was nothing in the promotional material or during the press conference that said that she was going to be some kind of streamer. Now admittedly that's a very modern thing to do. Streaming is very popular. I know from first-hand experience, streaming can get a lot of people in and can get a lot of information and a lot of good done. But in this particular instance, I don't know how much it adds to her character. It does move the plot along, but I'm wondering what exactly they're going to make of it. Because of the fact that her personality as Mitan is so different from her as Misora, it reminds me of last year between the difference of Asuna and Poppy People Papo, how one was there for more of the publicity things for, things going on with the hospital, and the other was more goofy, game character-y for just the writers there in the CR. So I wonder if that's the reason why they decided to implement that here. Who knows? Just saying we'll have to see this one out. Now in our first fight in the episode, we see that Build is taking on the Flying Smash. We're noticing that the naming scheme for the Smash here is kind of simplistic. They're just named after what they can do, not anything bigger than that. That's fine. Now, when Build is taking on this Smash, we see Sawa on the sidelines recording this, since apparently she's got the big scoop on who Kamen Rider is, but won't reveal his identity, which kind of seems like an oxymoron. Now we do see that Build is able to handle the Smash fairly easily, and that seems to be a recurring theme here at the beginning of the series. Build doesn't really seem to have a hard time with the Smash. He's kind of got this down pat. I haven't seen a writer this capable of taking out the monsters in quite some time. Usually there's some sort of kickback between what the writer is doing and what the monsters and the grunts are capable of, but here there's next to no challenge for Build. Now he does manage to revert the Flying Smash back into a woman who apparently had turned into a Smash and almost harmed her son. Now this is going to be important at the end of the episode, but for right now we just need to see that she was saved. Now aside from Misora at the beginning of the episode, the next biggest issue that I take with this episode is actually this next section of the plot, where we're actually dealing not so much with plot but exposition. This explanation of what the full bottles are and what they can do, specifically as it relates to best matches. Now looking around Build HQ, we see that he has at least 14 full bottles currently, which means he has the capability of developing at least that many best matches should he find the appropriate mate for each bottle. Now the thing of it is, when they're trying to explain how he's able to come up with this, he quotes having to figure out quantum mechanics and all of these different equations, but really what it comes down to is base trial and error. Now there's nothing wrong with that, that is scientific, but I think they're trying to over-explain it, especially for something that doesn't seem very well matched. Even Ryuga comments on it when he seemingly just picks 2 bottles at random and luckily finds a best match. It's not really that hard, especially considering once the full bottles have been purified, they already have the logo for the corresponding full bottle on it, the 2 different matching letters. So if you were just basing it off letters, that really shows you're overthinking it, right? Now aside from Sento, Ryuga says he used his 6th sense to figure that out, but even then, again, it's just simple trial and error, so really, we didn't need this over-explanation, you could just say you figured it out. Now yes, thankfully Mitan's efforts did achieve results in that people have given her information on where Nabeshima is to be found. When Ryuga uses this information to call Nabeshima, he tells him that he can't help him out for fear of his family's safety since Faust has taken them. Now this is our first actual in-show mention of the organization by name, Faust. Now we don't exactly know what it is that Faust wants at the moment. We just see that they're experimenting on people and turning them into the Smash. They're being exposed to something, we don't know what yet. There's still a lot of mystery to be unraveled there, and also what their ultimate goal is. Now we're told that Nabeshima's family is being held in Sento, which is one of the other districts that we were told about there in episode 1. Now the way to get there seems to be by going around the Skywall, since the Skywall seems to be dividing Japan up into the 3 portions as we were told. The interesting thing about that is that we're shown that there's a clear crack in the wall there on the water where they're trying to get through. So how exactly does that work? Because we haven't gotten a lot of information on how exactly the Skywall works. In fact, we don't even know that the Institute knows how it works. So why is it there's this random crack there? Now, as I said earlier, Build's first rescue does play in here, in that the mother that he saved from being a smash is actually the one who helps them get on the boat that they'll need to get on to get to Sento. Now, admittedly, only 2 of our characters make it there. Sento is kind of in a bad way, but we'll explain how we got there. Now, yes, naturally he is watching Ryuga's every move, since he will lead him closer to figuring out who Night Rogue is and who Faust is altogether. But we see that he's decided to make the decision to go ahead and combat the Guardians directly as Sento, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering that we already established that the Guardians do have onboard cameras, so why would you show your face? It would make sense that he would have transformed into Build first, or hidden behind cover to attack them, but no, he blatantly attacked them and shot directly at them. Now, this does lead into our second fight of the episode, which has Build taking on the Mirage Smash. Now, the Mirage Smash's ability allows him to make multiple copies of himself, which means that Build needs to be able to hit more than one place, which allows for the use of this new best match, Hawk Gatling. Now, for what it's worth, Hawk Gatling looks pretty impressive, and the finishing move makes sense considering that they're still using geometry and all of this other math to go ahead and display that on screen. But aside from that, there's not too much that it's used for other than a reason to have a gun. Now, this would all be well and good if it weren't for the fact that Sento wasn't exactly watching his back, literally, as he's attacked by another assailant. This other rival, who we're seeing is an associate of Night Rogue, has entered the scene, having a Cobra theme as opposed to Night Rogue's Bat theme. This is also a throwback to the original series of Kamen Rider, of one of the 3 main villains that a rider fights to begin with: a Cobra, a Bat, and also a Spider. Now, we haven't seen a Spider just yet in the series, but I imagine we'll be getting there at some point. Now, this new rival, who we understand from the scans is named Bloodstark, has taken Nabeshima, their one lead, away from them. So how are we going to handle this? Who knows? That'll lead into next week's episode, when we see the team heading over to Sento, and also seeing more of what Faust wants. Now, there were some things I did like in this episode. I still appreciate that Sento is still using his bike to get from point A to point B. He's a rider, he's riding. Good, I appreciate that. And I also actually like the use of nighttime filming there at the end of the episode. It's not often that we get a lot of nighttime filming, so when it does happen, it's kind of a special treat. I also do appreciate that Sawa is playing a bigger part in the series, and that she's actually helping out there with the Build crew. I'm not so sure how I feel about Misora yet. We're going to have to see just how much they play up this Mitan portion of her personality. So yes, there were good things about this episode, there were bad things about this episode, but of course that was my opinion. I want to hear what you guys thought in the comments below, so let's go ahead and talk about this. First off, Mitan. What do you guys think of this new personality trait that we're seeing for Misora? Do you think it's cool that she's a streamer, or do you prefer that she was just moody? Secondly, the full bottles. Do you think they're trying a little too hard to explain how they work, or is it fine that they're trying a little harder than they would given other years? And lastly, the organization Faust. What do you think their goal actually is? Are they just transforming people for the hell of it, or do you think they have a greater goal in mind? You tell me in the comments below. And of course, during the week, you can always talk to me over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st. This has been episode 3 of Rider Rebuild for episode 3 of Kamen Rider Build, Borderline of Justice. I'm Josh Knight the First. I'll see you guys again next week.